You got to unmute.
Okay, officially, I'm here. Okay, great. All right, I know you guys have probably been super excited to talk about marketing, right? I mean, you guys have been looking forward to this. Um, I have been in this business a long time, and people ask me sometimes, why did you name your company Sunday Brunch? And I'm like, well, I wanted to name my company something that gave people a positive emotion and a positive reference point. And a lot of people, they don't want to deal with their marketing. So I felt like Sunday Brunch was something that everybody always says, oh, that's a really good idea. So anyways, that's how the Sunday Brunch came about. And to that point, all right, I know that we're going to kind of banter a little bit back and forth, but I'm going to tell you guys, you can go. Sorry, we're driving here, but I'm not driving, so it's safe for me to do this. Last week, I put something up in you guys that were referenced during the call, and I'll do the same this time. So a couple of the documents that you're all going to get from me this time are a template. I'm going to give you two, and I'm going to tell you what they are up front, but I haven't put them there yet, so you're going to have to keep checking. But one of them is a marketing calendar, and I want everybody to, if you haven't already, start using and thinking about what an annual marketing calendar is for your business and why you should do it. So, like, for instance, Jim, can we talk for a minute about the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate marketing calendar and what goes into that? Can you jump in here and tell everybody why that's so important?
Yeah, and beyond just a calendar as the description, oftentimes I like to refer to it as programming for the year. And the reason why I call it programming is if you look at the year from a marketing perspective and what programming actually means, and that programming goes beyond the marketing. And one of the things that I was really successful in with Kettle One was being the marketing guy that associated and collaborated with the sales team. So, and I'll throw this back your way here in a second, Rachel, but what that means is, if you're in the retail environment, we'll just use tequila as an example. And right now we're in April, May, everybody knows Cinco de Mayo is in May, right? So oftentimes marketing people they work in silos. They don't work with the rest of the team. So if you have good programming and a marketing calendar, you're able to go to the sales team today on April 3rd and go, hey, by the way, in our calendar for the year, in our programming, we're going to be promoting Cinco de Mayo in 30 days from now. These are the assets that we've created. This is what we're doing on social. This is what we're doing on print. This is what we're doing on TV. This is what you should be selling. And by the way, how can I help you if there's any discounts, right? And so that's why it's so important to have some type of long-term marketing calendar. And again, I like to call it programming for the year. So hopefully that's what you were looking for, Rachel.
That is exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. Because a lot of people think, well, why do I need to go through this exercise, right? Of putting it together. So I try to do it in the fall, in preparation for the calendar year ahead, but there's really no like rule that it has to be in the fall. So, I mean, there's no time like the present. I'll give all of you guys a template that calendars out the remainder of this year. And then you guys can fill it in for your own businesses of what might be applicable to you. And then this is going to beg the next question. As you're starting to go down this list, you're going to realize that you have certain channels in marketing that are turned on and some that are turned off. And you sort of think like, okay, how am I going to organize this, right? Like you have some obvious buckets, right? Like you can look at it in terms of like, well, my social media is one channel, right? Or my print is a channel, or my articles, right? But if you start grouping them together, I challenge you, and I'm going to send you another document that shows you this, is your whole marketing ecosystem is integrated, and you have, and I talk about this a lot, but you have paid channels that help you expand and attract your business. Those are like the examples would include like your Google ads, your Meta ads, your events, your SEO, like things that you're paying for in order to get you in front of more people. That could also be like paying to be like in award entries or retargeting ads. So then you want to say, all right, well, what's my messaging in that category of paid channels that are helping to expand my business and attract more people to my business. All right, so then you have the second circle, and there are three. The second circle is earned, and earned is public relations. This is where you're nurturing, right? Those people who you're expanding to and reaching. See how these are interconnected. You'll see this in the visual, but the earned properties, this is organic search. This is referrals from friends and family. This is your personal brand that people talk about, articles that are written about you, and maybe different influencers who are talking about you. So you want to make sure that this channel is turned on and that it's working together in unison, like in harmony with the paid channel. All right, which now brings me to the third bucket, which is owned. And this is like a content that you own. These are where you're converting. These are where people who are down the purchase funnel, and it all works together, because if you've attracted people with whether they're earned or paid efforts, and then they've found you and they're on your owned platforms, this is your website, the emails that you make, the blog that you're writing, the podcast that you're doing, this is where you should be converting your customers from potential into active customers. So how many of you, I'm curious, like just as an open conversation with Jim wants to chime in, or Rod or Jim, or any of you guys in your businesses, like, are you using these different channels? Have you thought about them in the three buckets before?
Rachel, I'll chime in while they're thinking about it. I mean, look, this is something you taught me years ago. And I think this is one of those areas that you're often weak at if you're not in the daily marketing world, and we can all be better at it, because once you start to understand what the channels are, and I want you to say what they are again, 1, 2, and 3, so people can rewrite them down if they didn't. You went through them a little bit fast, but these are those types of things that are so critical if you understand them and you can utilize them. And by the way, I'm hoping that everyone goes to the platform and looks for these and downloads them, so that if you're not using them, that you can put them into your own businesses and your own efforts, because they're really critical if you want to succeed in a different level. So one more time, 1, 2, and 3 were what?
Okay, so the first one was paid.
Yep.
And those are things that you put money towards in order to get more customers, whether it's paying to be at an event, or you're paying for an ad, or you're paying for commercial space on the air, on TV. Those are paid. Then you have earned, and now that's public relations. That's where people are talking about you, whether they're writing an article about you, they're giving you a referral, it's influencers. That's the second bucket. And then the third bucket, which is converting, that's when they're on the platforms that you manage and that you fill with content. That's your podcast, your YouTube channel, your book that you write, right? Any of the content that you put out into the world. And people should be kind of going from the paid and earned areas where you're attracting, expanding, and nurturing into conversion in the last one. Yeah. So I will share the visual of that. And then with your marketing calendar, you want to make sure that the different areas are either turned on, and some might be turned off on your business, and that's okay. You can't have every channel and every platform turned on all the time. That's just not going to serve you, right? And especially as you're just starting out, like you're a small business, you don't have the resources and the budget to have them all turned on at once. So you want to think about, based on your goals, which ones are you turning on, and then put them out on your calendar for the year. So, if you're like, all right, I'm going to invest a little bit of time and money and effort into one of these channels, and I'm going to switch to something else, then, the cadence of how that all works together. And once I give you guys the templates, if you want our opinion, just like how I offered to go through and help you guys with blue check marks, or look at press releases for you, I'm happy to look at your marketing calendars for you too. So the next thing in the marketing category of world that I want to talk about is kind of moving on from looking at the 50,000 foot view to looking at the execution in the day-to-day of how you're talking about your business. You probably, I'm going to hope, went through the foundational strategic exercise to figure out what your your voice is, to figure out what your why is, to figure out, what your vision statement is, your values that you believe in, that your customers believe in. I'm assuming you guys have already done all of that. And let's say that you do go through all those steps. Are you just going to shout, scream into the wind, hey, everybody, buy my stuff, mine's the best? Or are you going to actually step back and say, all right, there are common advertising techniques. All right. Who can tell me what the advertising technique was for Got Milk? Anybody know? It's famous. That Got Milk, when they took like a big bite of cookie and needed to say something and they couldn't speak, and then got milk. Everybody remember that? Anyone?
Yep.
Milk mustache.
The milk mustache was something totally separate. But when they needed something to drink, that's scarcity play. Some advertising people sat back and they were like, oh, okay, this technique is going to create a sense of urgency, right? There's scarcity. You see, people do that when they're like limited time only, right? Or the sale ends tomorrow, right? Like that's scarcity. So are you using that in your marketing? Is that an approach? Does that resonate with the strategy of the target of your business, right? Some of the other ones are emotional appeal, right? Are you trying to pull at the heartstrings? Like, who can think of an example of a company that pulls at the heartstrings? All right, well, you guys, I'll share with you some of the most famous ones because nobody knows. Okay, all right. The third one is testimonials. If you don't have testimonials for your business, I would recommend that you get some, actively pursue that. There are forms that you can put on your website that will link people out directly to your Google. You can also put them into your emails. So testimonials is another different technique. I think that's the third one that we talked about. The fourth is, oh God, abused animal ads. I would say that would be an emotional appeal, maybe, or pulling at the heartstrings. Yeah, those are sometimes really tough to watch. Oh, hi, Clayton. You've got celebrity endorsements, which I think you could use the term celebrity kind of loosely and note that applies to influencers who are out there these days. And then you have humor. The way that humor was used in the last few years that was really noteworthy to the industry was with insurance ads. All of a sudden you saw a very serious category, and you had the creation of like the Mayhem guy and Flo and Geico little creature, and now all of a sudden, insurance is a category that we're seeing a lot of humor used at. So, any of these techniques can be applied to any industry and any product. So thinking about how it can apply to your business is, part of where the secret sauce is and why it's important to go do the strategy work first. All right, we talked about humor, we talked about scarcity, bandwagon. So that's like the everybody's doing it sort of thing, like get on board, everybody's doing it. Then you've got comparative advertising. Comparity is when you find a competitor that you basically going to paint them as the enemy. And you're going to say, listen, I'm better than them, and this is why. And so you sometimes see those campaigns come out from big fast food chains. Yeah, like they'll actually call them out by name. You'll see it a lot in political ads too. Then you've got fear, which is something that I don't personally like to use, but it can be done. And that's another famous one. And then sex appeal. So you can't forget that category because I think you'll see that sometimes a lot with like the ads for Las Vegas or, for other like clothing brands and consumer packaged goods. So, hey, Jim, when you guys were building I think it was Kettle One, do you remember what kind of advertising you were using for that?
Yeah, I do remember exactly what we used. And I remember going through the process and the whys. See, the thing about Kettle One is that we didn't run a single ad, and we had zero plans to run a single ad until we sold 1 million cases of vodka first. We wanted it to be built by hand and by word of mouth and by our story. And the way that we told our story was through live interactions and through a very informative historical perspective video. And then all that was topped with an actual taste test of the product side by side other products, right? So when we came out with what our ad was, we wanted it to be as authentic as possible to Kettle One. And so after 12 years of doing what we were doing, our first ad, and we had a lot of deliberation. We were paying Saatchi and Saatchi, and if you don't know them, that we're talking about a $30,000 plus a month retainer for them just to give us, words of advice. Our first ad was a white piece of paper, and it said, "Dear Kettle One drinker, thank you," in the top left-hand corner. So it's "Dear Kettle One drinker, comma, thank you." That was it. An entire white page with that in the top corner that we paid for, and all the big dogs like Forbes and Vogue and Vanity Fair, 20 to 50 grand a page. That was our only ad. But it followed along with our messaging and our branding, and it resonated. And most importantly, imagine the stir that it caused, pardon the pun on drinks, imagine the stir that it caused amongst our colleagues to say, why would you spend $50,000 on a white page that says five words, which gave us another opportunity to explain why. And that was our sincere gratitude for the customers. That's where that thank you became so powerful. So yeah, I remember. I actually ran the first ad through my department in New York Times, and I have a copy of it in my office framed from Kettle One.
I remember when that came out, and I wasn't involved, and I worked at Saatchi. It was a different office, but I remember thinking, oh my God, this is brilliant. And it was so cheap to produce because it's just words on a page.
Yeah.
But expensive nonetheless. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys, I know we talk a lot in all of our lives about the importance of social media. And I feel like I get a lot of questions from my clients. And this is just real talk of what's happening right now. Everyone's talking about AI. Everyone wants to know what the secret, recipe is to break through on social media. One of my clients in the health and wellness space, we really made a huge shift recently. They do big Google ads, and we recently pulled a lot of money out of Google, and we stopped a lot of social posting, and we switched to all reels. So reels that we could repurpose across TikTok, that we could put on Instagram, that we could put on Facebook, all 100% video. And we spent less money on the paid stuff, but we invested more into the content creation, and we saw a huge spike in business, a huge spike in traffic to the website. And that, I think, is going to be what you're all seeing. Social media right now, what's happening, I know I've said this to Jim recently, is the line in the sand is being drawn right now. If you are a serious business, you are going to be posting videos. And if you are not, then you are going to be still posting static. And I know even us, like at the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, we're still posting some statics, but that is going to be changing. I'd say in the next 6 months or so, it's just going to be all video. So it's time to learn how to do video editing if you haven't already, or find somebody good that you can outsource to.
Yeah.
And there are a couple apps that I'll recommend. One of them is free. It's called CapCut. And that one is, I would advise everybody spend some time in there practicing your video editing techniques. They also have something in the top upper right-hand corner on the homepage where it's like auto cut, and it like edits at least a first draft together for you to get you a jump start. So these are free things that you can try. Yeah.
Rachel, you cut out for a second. What was the name of that company?
It's called CapCut.
CapCut?
And I will put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Or not the chat. I'm going to put it in the portal.
Okay, perfect. Good spot. Yeah.
Yep. So tonight in the portal, you guys are getting the link to CapCut. You are getting the list of the different 10 advertising techniques that we talked about. You're getting the template for the ecosystem and the marketing calendar. I mean, this is probably more than you signed up for tonight.
Yeah,
But
Rachel, if I can jump in real briefly on you.
yeah, I would love it.
What I want to, and I know several of you follow my social media, and you saw that I was away this weekend with some really solid industry leaders, people with millions of followers and have been in this for a long time. You know, being amongst them specifically, every single one of them brought their video guy, every single one of them. And a lot of the content that you saw that I reposted or that I was in, or some of the stuff that I'd done, came from their video guys on the spot. Literally, they go, hey, let me interview you real quick. And then they bounced around the party. And then they stepped away for 15 minutes. Next thing you know, it was popping up, you know, in a DM to the person they worked for, and they were posting it on their feed immediately. That's the extreme. That's when you got big, you know, $1 million budgets and you can handle those things. But somewhere in there, we as entrepreneurs need to fill that gap to the degree that we can. So maybe that's us filming our own stuff, taking a bathroom break away from the crowd, posting something up and stepping back into the fray, right? You know, again, that might be a little extreme to stay on top of things, but that's how important it's becoming, is that the people that are leading the charge are literally showing up with their video guy, flying them in, you know, on their private jets, and you know, they're present. So Rachel's making a really good point about it. And also, just to go back to, you know, she talked about the 3 levels: earned, paid, and then conversion. I saw all of that over the weekend on my own social as well through these guys. The only thing that I didn't do is I didn't pay to monetize or to push anything that I had posted, but lots of earned, a lot of converted, a lot of book sales, things like that, because organically I was utilizing these things. There's a lot of strength behind it. So it seems like everybody's taking good notes and it'll be there for them. But I just want to touch on that. So go ahead, Rachel. Thanks for letting me cut in.
No, this is great. I love it when we can all talk about this together. I'm trying to put this onto the portal for you guys right now, and I'm getting this little error message.
We
But
can wait for you for later.
you know, it's funny, but it's exactly to your point though, because I'm like, oh, they need it, and they need it right now, because this is how fast it's happening, right? So there's no time like the present. One of the other like frequently asked questions that I get from clients is, how do I post consistently on social media without it being like a drag of like, oh crap, I haven't posted today, I forgot to post, I haven't posted in a week. So I will also include for you guys some of the platforms that I like to use.
All right. She probably doesn't.
Creator Studio.
Rachel, you cut out for
Oh.
a minute as soon as you were going to offer up what you use.
Oh, all right. Am I back?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a bunch of different ones out there, but for free, you can use Facebook Creator Studio. If you put that into Google and you're logged in through Facebook Creator Studio, you can schedule posts in advance for free on both Instagram and Facebook. Now, here's the trick. If you schedule it on Instagram, you can copy it to Facebook. But if you put it on Facebook, you can't copy it to Instagram. So you have to top screen to make it pink, and then you'll know you're on the right platform. I have a whole presentation about this. I can share it with you guys. So I would highly recommend you start using that. So you're capturing video, you're editing it in CapCut, you're scheduling it in advance, and you have done your homework, so you know how frequently you need to be posting to reach your target audience. Seems like a full-time job.
Yeah, but I want to reinforce that real quick on another thing as well for everybody. It is a lot of work, but one of the things I was thinking about earlier, if you're the person in your department, let's say you work for somebody else, and you're operating at this level within your department, you can utilize the tools that you have and push up or push over to other departments to collaborate with them or help them be better in what they're doing, which will ultimately come back to you. So what I mean by that, as an example, let's just say you're an entrepreneur doing sales for somebody, But what Rachel's teaching us here, your company's not doing. I would put together a presentation of what they could be doing or what would help you sell more of that widget, and then go to your leadership or your marketing department and go, hey, have you thought about this? Because if you're doing this and you can collaborate with me back in sales, we're going to see an increase in sales because of these efforts. And by the way, we're not doing these things, which this is where everything's trending. If you're in your own business and you're not doing this, then you need to add it to part of your stream of work and realize how important it is. Because again, coming from a weekend of watching a lot of people do that. And by the way, Samantha's on a political call tonight, so she's not here, but I'm with her all day, every day, and I'm watching her working for the big dogs. This is what she's focused on Flag Nor Fail client, is exactly what Rachel's talking about. So resonates a little bit easier with me because I'm seeing it live on the kitchen table every day. So Rachel's telling you exactly what the big companies are doing. They're selling millions and millions of dollars in product.
Here's another fun tool for everybody. And I just put this in the portal. Facebook, it has an ads library where you can live search to see what any advertiser is putting out there. I just looked up, I think it was Lions Not Sheep, and put it in there and then put it in the portal so you guys can see. It'll pull up all the ads that they're doing for free. I mean, they're not doing it for free, but you can see them for free. You can see all the ads that Nike's doing. You can see all the ads that any brand that you can come up with. If they're doing paid ads, it's public knowledge, and you can find them here from the link that I just put in the portal. So that'll help with your competitors. Or if you're concepting and you're like, well, what kind of ad do I want to do to reach my target? I know that my business is similar to this one. I'm going to jump in and, do a little research. So Rod has his camera on. Is that because you're going to jump in here?
No, it's because I finally got my camera on. I've had Wi-Fi issues tonight, but thank you. I do have a question for you though, Rachel. Earlier in a prior email, I believe you were talking about Instagram, and you said something about CTA in your stories. And I don't know what CTA is. So I made a note to ask you for everyone.
I'm glad that you asked. So CTA, by the way, I'm so sorry. I feel like our whole industry, we just talk in these acronyms. So yes, it's call to action. So, and a lot of the posts that are performing well right now, whether it's a story or a reel, it has a call to action, even if it's as simple as follow me or subscribe to my channel, or it could be more direct, like, buy my t-shirt, right? Join, be a member, whatever it might be. So sign up for my newsletter. There's a bunch of different, options for that. There's something else I was going to mention to you guys. Now, I know that when I talk about posting and scheduling on Facebook and Instagram, by the way, I know that's not the end all be all. Like, you still have to post, and I want to repeat this, on the other channels that make sense for your business. If it's Pinterest, let it be Pinterest. If it's LinkedIn, or if it's TikTok, or if it's Google My Business, you all should have your Google My Business set up. That's another owned platform where you control the narrative, and your social posts should all go up on Google My Business. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps with your SEO and your search results. So that's another thing that should be on your ecosystem and on your marketing calendar. And that's pretty much for every business out there, which is also going to give people a place to leave reviews, 5-star reviews. And you should reply to every single review, even if it's 1 star, 2 star, or 5 stars. The acknowledgement of the review is the most important part. And if you ever do get a negative review and you want some PR help of what to reply, we can play with different answers of how to kind of handle those tricky ones. But hopefully you're all getting 5-star reviews, so it's not a problem.
Hey,
but
whether you're listening today or this is later on for you, if you don't know something like Rod just asked, what's CTA, please ask. If you don't know how to be listed on Google reviews or the format to do that, because there is a process, And yes, it's free, but if you don't know how to get there, please ask. You've got experts in here. Go on our platform, ask the question. Hey, does anybody in here know how to do this? And you might be looking, and Rachel, I just quickly looked at all the notes you dropped into our platform. There's a lot there. If you're going through that and you're going, wait, what does that mean? This is the real value in us all being together, is you can ask that question and we can give you some time. If it's going to go beyond the scope of work that we can offer, there's a lot of people that we can refer you to or get you to. Regardless, we're gonna get what you need, because this is a fire hose call. I just wrote that in there. And for me, it's a little bit second nature, but if this isn't second nature for you, rewatch this call, look at Rachel's notes, and then ask the questions and really get the value out of this. You're giving us some gold tonight, Rachel.
Good. Thank you for saying that. And Rod, I loved your question, because then that led me to think, all right, well, does everybody know what CPI stands for, or CTR, or CPC, or ROI? And I'm like, not everybody talks in this marketing language of short term. So I will put the definitions of all of these up in the platform as well, because these are things that you're going to want to be tracking, and they should be a part of your dialogue. It doesn't have to be every day, but at least once a week when you're having Sunday brunch, right? Mm-hmm. You're having your marketing meeting, you at least need to be addressing these things and tracking some of them for trends.
Yeah.
All right. I know that this was a lot. I feel like I don't need to keep going. Everyone's just looking like this was a lot to absorb. Like Jim said, it's a fire hose call. So, but I am happy to keep going if you want me to.
I think what we can do is, Rachel, since you're in the car and maybe you can't see as well, I can see the questions or the hand raises. So I'll moderate any questions that come through. But if you have questions, raise your hands or put them in the chat. I'll moderate that. And what I want to just briefly talk about to reinforce what Rachel's just given us, and like I affirmed before, this is gold. This is, executive level marketing topics here. And to learn the acronyms and the whys, you're not going to get this most often. And if you're not in a marketing department, it doesn't matter. This applies to everybody on the call, because you can manage up, you can manage left and right to your colleagues if you're working for somebody, and ask these questions or have a better understanding of the blabber that they're trying to give you in the front of the executive room, acting like they're smarter than everyone else, and because we're dumb salespeople, whatever that environment looks like. Use this time to educate yourself, be smarter on the terms, be smarter on the how and the why, especially as it relates to what's important right now in marketing. My guess is most big companies are archaic right now, and they're still trying to catch up. And if you're an entrepreneur, you've got a fire hose of learning everything, and this is a great way to get some stimulus in marketing and create your own direction. The other thing that I would say too is that this will help you develop those business plans as well, if that's where you're at in your endeavor. So Rachel, Taylor's got her hand up. So Taylor, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. Well, Rachel, love the topic tonight. It was a fire hose, and I'm glad I was taking notes because it's going to take a minute to digest, but it's definitely timely for me. My kids are playing in the background, so if you can't hear what I'm saying, if it's cutting out, just like raise your hand and I'll tell them to be quiet. Okay, I made a note because I was on the new platform just a little while ago, and hey, Opie, no thank you. Sorry about that. So I was on the new platform recently, and Rachel, you had posted something about a press release file that you had put together for viewing, and I could not see where that was located.
Okay, so if you go on the left-hand side of the menu, where it says pages, and there's like 3 dots with 3 lines. Do you see it?
I think the quick answer is under the pages, there's a document library is where it should live at.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm
Did I go out?
Nope, you're still
no.
here.
I can hear you. Sorry. So I'm taking
Okay.
notes. I had myself
Yeah.
muted.
Got it. Okay. So if you go into the document library, it should be in there. There's a drop down menu. There's like a video library, a document library, book library.
Let me show. Okay,
Perfect.
so
Jim's going to share screen.
live on the screen, right?
Thank
So
you.
here's the left-hand side. You can see that Rachel's already started to plug in some notes. If you go to pages, hit your pages, there's your doc library, and then the bottom document, press release how-to guide right there. Okay. And what'll happen is this actually takes you to an external link, and then you can either read it, download it, print it, or whatever you want to do with it. We also have video library, all these calls right there. Book recommendations are here too. So there's your real quick tutorial.
Thank you so much. That was super helpful.
No problem. Do you have a question about it specifically, Taylor, or were you just looking for the content to review it?
So I was just looking for the content. I actually could not find the document library. So just knowing that it's in pages, I did kind of navigate. I thought I navigated through all of the menu options, but I must have missed the pages.
Yeah,
One.
no worries. Hey, it's a new platform for everybody. No problem.
Totally. Thank you.
Okay. Marcy Rod Kuntz had a question.
Yeah, thanks. I will get this rectified by the next time. I just wanted to say, number one, Rachel, I so appreciate the fire hose because I love marketing. It's one of my passions, and I'm old school. And so while you're going through all of these, these three things, the paid, the earned, the owned, these are all things that are timeless. These are things that I was doing when I was doing hand layout of ads, right? Cut and paste. And so it's really, it's put it in a different perspective for me as the old guy here, one of the older guys here, that this is exactly what I was doing, but now it's being done in a different medium, right? Now we're in the social media medium, and then the CTA, that is ask for the sale, right? In old timer school, that was ask for the sale. When you get to the end of whatever your spiel is, you've got to ask for that sale. So I'm just reminded here that when you do get people in, those purchasers in that final bubble, right, the owned platform that you have to convert, that's where that personal relationship has to come in. Ultimately, you still have to ask for the sale, right? And so all of this is pushing people there, but if we're not doing it at the end, we're missing something. And it's always that, well, what is it we're missing? And Rachel, if you can speak to that a little bit too, about how you can always try something different. And I know that we are doing these things too. We monitor and track and figure out what is and isn't working and how important that is. So if you could touch on that real quick.
So the thing about that is, you're right. I mean, none of this is new. It's just the methods in which it's being done are new and changing all the time. I was talking to somebody because I've got a book coming out. And when I started working on the book, I said, I am not going to make this a marketing how-to guide, because if I write it, it will be obsolete in 6 months and it will all not be relevant anymore. If I'd written a book, a year or 2 years ago, it wouldn't have even included TikTok. And now that's a huge part of not only our marketing calendar, but it's changing the whole social media landscape. So I needed it to be an evergreen content. But so the techniques they're changing very, very fast. So staying up on it and talking about it in this group and hearing what other people are doing is very valuable for the health and success of your business in the future.
Awesome. Riley's got a question. Riley, why don't you go to unmute and ask away?
Hello. I was wondering if anyone has ever used answerthepublic.com and just trying to decide what kind of social media content you wanted to put out there, and if anybody used it and if it's been helpful. Does anybody know what that is?
What's it called again, Riley?
It's called answerthepublic.com. So I'm assuming that no one's heard of it. So
No.
it's a site that you can go on to and you can put in a keyword. So like for me, I can put in mortgages and I can see all of the highest like questions that people are searching in regards to, sorry, my window is right behind me, in regards to like what people are trying to Google to ask questions about mortgages. And then I have created social media content based on what are the most searched questions. And I didn't know if anybody's used it and it's been helpful.
Well, I'll speak for myself. I haven't used it. And I think that seems like a great tool if you're looking for what your messaging is going to be or trying to get some target audience. So good job with that. I don't, Rachel, have you used that before or something similar?
I haven't used it, but I've heard of things like it and used things like it before. So I think anything that you can do to help, generate more quality content that is what your audience is searching for, then that's awesome. And you absolutely should do that. So, you try to use the resources and the tools that are available to you. That sounds good. I've seen people search in Google and like when they see the answer box come down at the bottom, if you keep expanding it, that'll keep giving you new answers. You can go into Chat GPT and start using AI. If you're like, what are the 30 most interesting topics in my category or industry? Whichever way you can get there that's comfortable for you is what you should pursue.
Yeah.
Really, there's no wrong way.
Riley, your homework is to put that up, put the link up on your portfolio in the Y.E.S platform, please.
Okay.
That'll
Figure out how
require
to
you to
do
go on
that.
you'll have to go on the platform, put your picture on, all that good stuff, and then do it. So
Okay.
anything else before I move on to Fred? You're good? Okay. Go ahead, Fred.
All right. Hey guys, sorry I logged on late, but I think I got right into the face of the fire hose as it was coming out. So thanks for the valuable nuggets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was a few minutes late. A couple things. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Jim, on making it out to New Jersey for that event. It looked like it was pretty epic from
Oh
what
yeah,
I
thanks.
and I was hoping I didn't miss if you shared anything in the beginning. We can circle back on that, but it's impressive to see you grow from the first podcast that I heard you put out to building your stage and getting in rooms with extremely influential people. So I love seeing the progression, the work that's put in and the benefit that's coming out of it. So a lot of times, we can beat ourselves to death, but once we get into the right rooms with the right people, things really start to accelerate.
Yeah.
So I've seen it in my own personal business, and it's exciting to watch you grow and expand on a daily basis. So congratulations on that. My next question is, I was just curious, when we do the podcast, we use a site called Buzzsprout, and I think you turned me onto that, Jim, early on. But it's so nice because it'll distribute the content with one upload to anywhere from like 10 to 15 different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious if anybody in the group uses anything like that for social media that will broadcast and convert posts to from Instagram. I know it can go over to Facebook, but if there's one that will go over to TikTok, so on and so forth. They're just looking for a way to optimize and make this more efficient.
Yeah, let me answer real quick, and I think you'll probably get a couple answers. I know Rachel's got a resource. Samantha uses something as well, but I'll let Rachel answer that in a second. First of all, thank you for the compliment. And I love that you know my history with the podcast, because it wasn't that long ago that the podcast started, right? And it just goes to show if you're putting one foot in front of the other, you're eating the elephant one bite at a time, that you'll get there, but you also have to be in the room. And that was a term that they used a lot over the weekend, was you have to get in the room. And once you're in that room, things really start to accelerate. I can't tell you how many messages I've received since Friday. I cannot even keep up with them. I don't know how many books I sold, but everybody I met, they're like, oh yeah, I just bought your book. So getting in the room is part of the process, and then building your network from there. And just as a quick reminder, this is a room worth being in, and this will grow, especially through the efforts like what I just had this weekend. So Thank you for recognizing that. And just for clarity, I use Spreaker.com. I put the name in the link. Or I didn't put the link in, but in the chat here on this, I use the Spreaker platform mainly because my producer was using that when I first launched the podcast. And it had direct access early on in the podcasting world to iTunes, Spotify, all the important channels. And right now I'm on probably 75 podcast channels with my show. So I really like that platform. It was easy to use and it wasn't that expensive. But use what works for you if you're on the Buzz one. But that didn't come from me. Rachel, do you have a response form on the social media platforms that will kind of distribute it out? I know you do.
I do. I personally like to use the one called Sked, Sked, and I will put it into the portal so you guys can access it. It's not free, but it's worth every penny. It's the best one I've tried a bunch of them. So that's the only one I would recommend.
Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. Just something to help kind of streamline it and optimize these efforts. So perfect.
Yeah, and
Yep,
just
Sked.
to support what Rachel was saying, she did work for me for one of my clients, and she used Sked to upload kind of a month in advance, and we were able to review and approve everything 30 days before they even got posted. And the platform was so simple for us to use, right? As somebody that had hired a marketing company, it's an equally as easy to use as the owner of your own content. And it allows you to kind of look at it and go back and, refresh or make changes and then approve it way before it has to go out. So I really like Sked a lot. I know I pay for it too. So I don't use it as much as Rachel does, but I think it's a great platform. All right. Any more questions or comments? By the way, Fred, you didn't miss anything from me in the beginning. It's Rachel's call on marketing. So I would recommend that you go back and get the first dose of that fire hose so you can kind of catch up to where she started at. Rachel, any final thoughts on your side? And I'll close it up with a couple final thoughts on the event.
No, I think I'm good. I think I said it all for today.
Well, you said enough. And I saw that you, as I mentioned in the chat here on the Zoom call, all that information she just gave us is on the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate portal. All the links are there. I just double checked it. They've all popped up now. So please go on there. And while you're there, go ahead and fill in your picture and some of your bio and, let's start having a little life there. I know it's hard to be on one more platform, but it is worth getting there and starting this dialogue or getting in the habit to check in once in a while. We're constantly putting stuff up there that's worth seeing. So what I'll close with is, and Rod heard this once today already because he sat in on my class. We teach at the high school, and I wanted to give the students the same thing. And I know Rachel will appreciate this as well as her driver will appreciate this. We go to these things like I just did that big event with leaders and influencers. And one thing that resonated with me again, and I've spoken about this quite a bit with Rod, many of these messages are the same throughout the years, just like the marketing message. They're the same throughout the years. Some of the books that we've read from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Think and Grow Rich, it's the same. The problem is with us is that we are knowledge takers. We're not out there doing the action. And that's why I've said a lot of times, like, we want participants, not just members. You have to take this content and put it to work. And so the head speaker or the headlining speaker was Keaton, also known as the Muscle. He's made, I don't know, $400 or $500 million in his business. You probably saw him on HBO under the Diesel Brothers if you watch any HBO specials. But he's had a lot of success. Anyways, he made 3 points that I want to remind everybody. And the reason why he said this, he says, look, everybody here, 99% of you is going to go back home and you're not going to do anything about what you learned all weekend. You probably had a good time. You soaked it all in. But if you're not taking notes, and you're not acting on it, you're not going to get anything out of it. So I'm going to read his exact 3 last bullet points before he closed out an entire conference. And what's important to note, and this is part of my point, is that he didn't have a pre-planned speech. He never does. He said it really upsets his team because he can't tell them what he's going to talk about until that moment. And he said, hey, this is the deal. I don't plan a speech. I've listened all weekend. This is what I want to close out with. And he spoke for 40 minutes, and it was probably one of the best speeches I've heard in a long time. But this is what he said. What is my vision is point number 1. We all need to know what our vision is. Okay, I look at that back to what are my values? What are my goals? What is your vision? Part of that is, what do I see for myself within that vision? And that is all encompassing. It's not only your professional life, but it's your personal life, because they do tie together. I know we'd like to say that we separate business and life. I mean, I'm sure Rachel's going on a wonderful date right now with her man. Hopefully that's what you're doing. And she's mixing in her business, right?
Say hi. Here, can I say hi?
Hi, buddy. Good to see you. So what is your vision and what do I see in it for myself? Those two often combine. So please take a look at that as a whole. That's point number 1. Point number 2, what do I need in my life to be very clear on my vision? What do I need in my life to be very clear on my vision? Sometimes we have to add something to get there. Whether that's being a part of this group or that's something else, what do you need in your life to be very clear on that vision? Maybe you need to clear some clutter. Maybe you need something less in your life to get that vision. Okay, and then this is how he closed the entire weekend. Again, important to note, we've heard this our entire lives, but what are we going to do about it? And this is exactly his words. That which you want will be tied to what you do. That which you want will be tied to what you do every single day. For me, it's time with the kids. It's my health. That's why I love 75 Hard. I want to be healthy. I love the program because it forces me to do that every single day. When you look at our platform, the reason why there's a task list, and maybe it's a little bit selfish of your leaders here, but those tasks are important to us because we know those will make a difference in your life. Gratitude. If you're giving gratitude every day, and that's what you're tied to, you're going to have a life of gratitude. And that's going to allow you to have success. Exercises on the task list, having your goals is on your, reviewing those goals, helping others. These are all on the task list on the Entrepreneur Syndicate back end to help remind you exactly what Carson said. That which you will want will be tied to what you do every single day. I just saved you $2,000 because that was the compilation of everything we did that weekend based on a speech that he gave on everything he heard. By the way, I think Nick, who was there, he was the person that was born with no legs and no arm. I think he probably gave the best inspirational speech about this same topic. And he speaks on stage right now with Tony Robbins. They're on a tour, and that's the caliber that Fred was referring to. So please use that as a takeaway. And I hope that you incorporate some systems in your life to do something every single day that will get you to where you want to be. And we're hoping that through our efforts, like Rachel's call tonight on marketing, will help you be a little bit better in your business. Trying to take some of that legwork out of it for you. You need more marketing? Make that part of your task list for the day. Dig into what Rachel talked about. You need the other things? It's there. If it's not there, we'll get it there. Or you can ask and we'll get it there sooner. So anyways, I'll close with that. I'm looking forward to next week's call. I believe that Mr. Kuntz is next week. There you
I
go.
am.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for sharing your Monday night with us. Rachel, thank you for an awesome fire hose of content and marketing expertise. She is one of the best. So we're fortunate to have her. Enjoy your evening.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.